A very warm welcome, Rahul. Thank you so much. This has been pending for a long, long time. Uh, Practically 1.5 years.
Yeah.
मी मराठीत बोलत नाही और एव्हरीवन हिअर आणि ऑनलाईन कारण मराठीत जरा क्रिकेटबद्दल बोलायला लागलं की शशी एवढा चांगला मला येत नाही गोलंदाजी फलंदाजी क्षेत्ररक्षण चेंडूफळी वगैरे आय थिंक विल जस्ट स्टिक टू इंग्लिश सो लेट्स हॅव अ talk with this legend we all love so much and let's understand a little bit more of his personality and whatever we've been seeing on TV is the Mr. Dependable, the wall and all that, and off late it's changed to a bit of Indranagar ka Gunda. So let's try to understand what exactly this gentleman is all about. So thanks Rahul. I think cred ad is like a big thing nowadays, right? So we really want to know how much did you agree with the ad? What was the reaction, especially from family, friends, and the fans? Because I saw a lot of people on social media were very thrilled about it, and some said, no, not Rahul.
I don't know, I'm not really sure I really approves of it. She hasn't really praised it too much. But no, I think it was, yeah, I mean, it was just a fun thing to do, to be very honest. I wasn't very sure how it would come out. But I think it's come out okay, and it was just fun, I think sometimes you can't take yourself too seriously also in everything you do. And like some of my friends have told me that I've taken things too seriously maybe for too long. So it's a good thing to be able to just laugh a little bit and have some fun and do something different. But yeah, it is a bit unnerving when people now, we haven't traveled too much nowadays lately, but sometimes even in the airport, some people will say, hey, Indranagar ka Gunda. So, it's, that's actually not me, that's just the ad.
Yes, the image has always been a very sober, decent, never ever a controversy, right? How did you manage that, Rahul? Because, on one hand we have Hardik Pandyas and, great players, but they've always managed to get themselves into some trouble or the other. Whereas Rahul, all through his career, not one soul ever said that he's doing something wrong. What was that all about? Media management?
No, I've not tried to do anything. I've just tried to be myself, really. And I mean, I've got into trouble over the years, and you make mistakes. I think you can't be in public life as long as I have been, and have that much of scrutiny on you, and not slip up a few times. I think it's just part and parcel of what we do. We've made mistakes. We've slipped up. There are things I've done which I might look back on, and things I might have said, which I would look back on in my life and say, hey, maybe I could have done something differently or said something differently at that point of time. And that's just part of being a public figure. I think all of us, nobody can claim to have a perfect life or never make mistakes. It's just that unfortunately, when you do things in public, you get praised publicly as well, but you also get criticized, and the scrutiny is also very public. So look, but my effort has never been to try and just do always the right thing or to do the correct thing. I've just tried to be myself and just try to live up to the values that my parents have always tried to instill in me, and it's just kind of worked out okay. So this was a bit of a welcome change, and I was worried about it. I was embarrassed doing the ad, I must admit. Standing in the middle of a road in Bombay and smashing things and shouting is not something that comes naturally to my personality. But it was fun in a way.
True. Going back to your earlier days, you come from a average middle class family where normally in our kind of homes, education is the most important. How easy or difficult was it to make sports as a career? And what would you tell the younger generation? Because it's still a bit of a challenge. And did you have an alternate career in mind if this didn't work?
It was honestly never a career. It was a hobby. I must admit, I mean, when I started playing, even though my father loved cricket, and he played a little bit for his university in Gwalior and all that, and he was he loved sport, he loved cricket. He sort of always, at home the transistor would be on and Baba would be sort of listening to the radio commentary and following the matches. Every time there was a match in Bangalore, Baba always took me me and Vijay, at least for one day of the match, took leave, or on the weekend he managed to get a couple of tickets, and we'd sit in the stand and watch. So Baba just had a love for the sport. But I don't think any of my parents ever thought that this was a career option. I mean, growing up in those days, it was not a career option. It was हा आमचा मुलगा खेळतो, पण म्हणजे अभ्यास करावा लागेल, and you had to sort of study, and it wasn't like, नाही हा खेळण आणि क्रिकेटर बनणार आहे. I mean, it wasn't like that. So, I mean, there was an unwritten rule at home that if the marks were not good, I would not get to go to the cricket. So I had to get half decent marks just so that I could go to cricket. So that was the kind of rule at home, that, if the marks didn't come out right, then no cricket. So to get to the cricket, I needed to study. I didn't want to study, but because I wanted to play cricket, I had to study. So that was that's the way my parents maybe got me to study. But no, I think we never thought of it as a career. Honestly, me and my family, it just happened. I mean, we played, like I said, under 15, and just so they said in the citation also. I just started playing. I played under 15. I got selected. I played under 17. I played under 19. The big decision my parents had to take, and I think I had to take really, was to choose between commerce and science. I had decent enough marks to get into science college, and in those days the whole thing was ki engineering, mulga engineering karayla pahiye, medical karayla pahiye. That was the big thing. My brother did engineering, right? He went on to do engineering, and so that was the thing. But I knew ki if I had taken engineering or if I had taken science, then I would not have been able to really concentrate on my cricket or play to that potential. The workload of managing sport and studies would probably have been too much for me. So my parents, I think they gave me that confidence ki theek hai, you take commerce, it's a slightly easier subject, and you spend 4 or 5 years doing that. And if you're able to see yourself in some career progression, you do that, or you choose to do a CA or an MBA, and finally a BCom, you can kind of decide if it's not working out on the cricket, then maybe leave the cricket and study hard and try and get into one of the better MBA colleges, or try and do a CA or something like that. But touch wood, for me, things kind of just kept happening. It kept, working out. And yeah, I was fortunate enough that there's something that I started as a hobby, not even thinking of the profession, has become my profession for close to, 30 odd years now. I've been able to make it my profession. So yeah, I've been very lucky, very lucky.
Yeah, I think it did work out, right? And we are happy that the Dravids let Rahul pursue this dream. So cricket is always now considered as a team sport, right? It's not a single one. And as a team, you need to gel together. And at the national level or stuff like that, you have players from very different backgrounds, right? And over the past few years, whatever little I've known, there's a marked divide between, the Rahul Dravids, Anil Kumble's, Venkatesh Prasad, vis-a-vis the Harbhajans, Yuvraj. How do you really manage to gel as a team when you have fairly different personalities? Does that affect the team spirit game anywhere?
No, I think it actually enhances it. I mean, I think you need different personalities in a team. I think if you have only Rahul Dravids in a team, it's going to become very boring actually. But I think you need different personalities in a team, and I think you need different characters, and me and Sri got along really well, but we are very different personalities, and so is Anil, and so is, like you said, Harbhajan and Yuvraj. So I think actually in a good teams are made of people who are actually different, and are able to bring different things to the table. I think surrounding yourself with people who are very similar to you is a very dangerous thing, in my personal opinion. I think you need to be challenged, you need to be pushed, you need to see other facets, other personalities, you need to see, you need to be exposed to a different thinking as well, not just a similar kind of thinking, and that helps you grow as a person and as a team. So, no, I think it works, and I think the language of cricket, I think all of us might be coming from different background, different experiences, but the goal is the same. We all want India to do really well in cricket, or we want the team to do really well in cricket. We are aspiring to one particular cup or a trophy or a tournament or a series. So that is very similar. And then even though you come from like different experiences, you bring all of that together so that you can aspire towards one goal or one target. It's like being part of the committee, I guess, in the mandal. I guess all of you coming from different places, but then the one event is the goal or the target, and I think everyone gets aligned to that, and then your relationships, your friendships, your interactions are all built around that, on that target and that goal. So no, I mean, I really loved and I really enjoy, and I think a lot of the young people today, they're slightly different, there's no doubt about it, but they bring so much of energy, so much of I think India has changed. I mean, if I look at in India when I was growing up, just the experiences, the opportunities that young people of today have, I think the exposure that they have, and through technology, through the internet, through various experiences, I think they are not, and India of today is not intimidated by anyone. And I think that shows in their confidence, and sometimes that can become overconfidence, and you have to watch against that. But certainly, I think the positivity of just that belief and confidence is something that, my generation maybe did not have, So it's great to see that kind of a new India emerges, that has, that's really saying that no, we're not just here to compete, but we are here to rule the world, and I think in all spheres.
I think that's a wonderful thing, and I happened to hear this from his good friend Javagal Srinath when Rahul's team won the Under-19 World Cup. And I was talking to Srinath and I asked him how. I said, Rahul claims that even if we didn't play this 11 and we had played another set of 11, we still would have won the cup. And I think that's great credit to his leadership in that. It's just amazing. Rahul, you had a spectacular career. I don't think anyone can expect anything better. There'll be hits and misses, but it's been a great run that you had. One thing which did get left out is holding the World Cup, right? And 2003, you missed it by a whisker. I was fortunate to be sitting at the Wanderers watching you keep that day, but somehow things didn't go your way. And the next one you captained, but do you miss that?
No, I don't miss it. I mean, yeah, like I said earlier, I think in a long career, you are going to have success, and obviously you're going to have some disappointments, and I think that's just part and parcel of a long career. I don't think, it's just. I don't have any regrets because I think I gave it my best. I look at my whole career and not just the World Cup. Of course, it would have been nice to win a World Cup, and of course, it would have been nice to do a lot of other things as well. I would have, if I were to write my own scripts, I would have written. I don't know what I would have written. I would never have got out for 0. I would only scored hundreds or something. But life doesn't work like that. And I think while yeah, that's just one of the disappointments. There are other disappointments, or I wouldn't say disappointments, or there are other things that didn't work out. But I have no regrets because, when I look back on my career, I think I gave it everything I had. If right from a young age, I worked extremely hard. I was incredibly determined. I was very clear about what I wanted to do. And I worked towards it, and I worked very hard. And even when you work hard, sometimes things don't work out your way. It happens a lot. So no, there are no regrets about it. Sure, it would have been nice to have won a World Cup or be a part of a winning World Cup team, but I take solace from the fact that I tried my best and it didn't work out. So, no, absolutely no regrets. Along the way, I've had a lot of success and I've had disappointment as well, and it's made me a better person, I think.
Yeah, I think, that kind of mental training is just amazing. I was fortunate enough to watch the 2003 World Cup finals at the stadium, and next day, you may not recollect, but we had lunch together, a group of us next to the Stanton in that mall. And all the players were fairly composed, and all the fans were very, very disappointed that we didn't make it. But the team held their composure. John Wright was there, and he said, guys, we live for the next day. So it's just amazing to see this kind of mental training. It's kudos to you to handle such a thing, right? It was difficult for us.
Yeah, but I mean, that's life, right? You've just got to bounce back, and you've got to look at the next thing, and you've got to move on ahead. I think the important thing is, at least something I've learned in my career, is not to get too excited or jump up and down when you win something or do very well, and not to get too disappointed when you fail, because I think that emotional roller coaster is very tough to manage as a cricketer or as someone in a public space. If every time you keep going up and down, then it becomes actually quite difficult.
The game is big. Obviously, we see a lot of changes, and generations change. Even for us, generations change every 10, 15 years, and for cricket, it's even shorter. But we've seen the era where Rahul, Sachin, VVS Lakshman, Anil Kumble, very calm, composed players on the field. And we have a new lot today, led by Virat Kohli, who's like very, very vociferous, very aggressive. And how do you see that change? Is it really required? How good is it? And how much is physical fitness being driven to another extreme? I heard that guys have to run a kilometer in under 5 minutes to even look at the team. Is that really where we're getting to?
So look, I think even now there are different personalities in the team, Ajit. It's not, I mean, I know Virat is Virat and it's who he is. What I really believe is that you need to be, I think the beauty of cricket, actually the great thing about cricket is it allows very different personalities to succeed. You see that even in this team, right? So you have Virat who's, you know, is a particular kind of personality, extremely successful, very, I mean, a great player. Probably is going to end up as one of India's greatest players. You also have in the same team a Cheteshwar Pujara or an Ajinkya Rahane, right? Different personalities, but they're all very successful players. You have a Hardik Pandya, you have a KL Rahul, you have a Jasprit Bumrah who's slightly different. You might have a Mohammad Siraj and you have a Shardul Thakur. So I think I think what the game allows you to do, and I think that's very important, is that you have to be your own person. You can't imitate someone else. You know, if I imitated Virendra Sehwag, just because, you know, I loved Virendra Sehwag because I loved his personality and I loved the way he was so relaxed about things and calm about things. But if I tried to be Viru, then I wouldn't be myself and I wouldn't get the best out of myself. If Viru tried to be me, then, you know, he wouldn't be Viru. So I think the thing is what's important is you have to be yourself within, of course, the boundaries, right? You don't want to cross the boundaries and you don't want to go overboard and you want to be careful with that. But within that, I think you need to be your own person. Because if you try and be someone else and imitate someone else, then I think you're not able to express yourself. And that's, you know, you're not able to get the best out of yourself. So, yeah, no, I think, you know, in terms of like, and to answer your other question, I think fitness is critically important, you know, and I think there's obviously got to have a balance between how much of it is required and how much is you know, you need to. So I think each case would be individual for me. I think you'd certainly be pushing a lot of the younger players a lot more. But once players have played a certain stage, then, you know, I think you need to be a bit careful because maybe their bodies can't handle that much of physical fitness, right? So, you know, some of the guys in the team, when they cross 34, 35, they're still very valuable to the team because they've got great experience and you want their skill. But then you've got to be careful that they might not be able to achieve those kind of physical fitness milestones because we all, as you get older, it gets tougher and tougher to hit those milestones. So my approach is slightly more individualistic. You have to push some of the younger guys and you have to push them and get them to work a lot harder. But at the same time, you know, if there are guys with slight injuries or if they're not, you know, they reach a certain age, then maybe you need to be able to pull back and say, hey, okay, we don't expect that of you, but at least this much. So, yeah, it's a balance, really.
Where do we stand as a now that you take care of the National Coaching Cricket Academy? Where does India stand in terms of infrastructure? And you must have seen the stuff in Australia, in England, these places. Where does India stand? And that was, I believe, one of your big focus areas when all of you took over KSCA for a term. So where are we and where do you think we need to head to?
I think that's been a big game changer. I think infrastructure development has been a huge game changer, especially in the districts and the smaller towns and cities. You know, I think we speak about the talent and, you know, you very kindly said that, you know, I have a big role to play in the development of a lot of the junior players. But, you know, I think a lot of that comes from just the kind of talent pool that we are tapping in today. I mean, if I were to go back when I was playing the game as a youngster, as an under-19 player or, you know, as a 17 player, I'll just give you a small example. You know, even in Karnataka, so in Karnataka, we would pick a under-15 Karnataka team or the under-17 Karnataka team in my time. And there would be 13 boys from Bangalore and there would be 2 boys from the rest of Karnataka. Right? They'd be sometimes, not all the time. I mean, Srinath was obviously, you know, an exceptional talent, right, from from the young age of whenever he started. But there were other guys who would actually just be token presences, you know, because the association needed to show the districts that we needed 1 or 2 boys. They would be put in the team, you know. So we would pick 13, and then 2 district boys would be there, and that would be our 15. Those boys would never get a chance to play. And the coach would never play them, and you know that was to happen. Today, you don't have to do that. You genuinely pick a Karnataka team and you'd find 9 boys from the districts. 8 or 9 boys from the districts and actually the majority is less. Or even the under-19 team. I mean, the Indian under-19 team that I captained in, you know, way back in 1990 or 91. If you were to look at the 15 boys who were in that team, I mean, from the metro cities and maybe the 5 metros, and you counted Bangalore and say Hyderabad as the 2 other sort of so-called bigger metros. From those 7 cities, I would think there would be at least 10, 12 boys, right? From the under-19 team that I coached in 2018, you could count on the fingers of one hand the boys from metro cities. right? So I think that's what's changed, and the big change of that has been infrastructure. You know, a game like cricket needs infrastructure, it needs facilities, it needs um, just, just playing the game on the road or on the street doesn't actually make you a cricketer. It gets your interest in the game going, but to compete at a competitive level, you need to get the infrastructure in smaller towns, and that's been the big gain. So now, like Sri and Anil, when they were here, did a fantastic job of sort of putting a lot of infrastructure in places like, Mysore always has had something, but places like Raichur or places like Shimoga, places like Belgaum, places like Mangalore, you've got a lot of infrastructure that is in, and when you have infrastructure, the talent is there. People have talent all over the place. It's just a question of giving them the right infrastructure. And we are seeing that even in the Olympics today. Look at where some of our talent is coming from. And that's because the infrastructure has to reach them. If they have to travel for the infrastructure, then you're losing out on a lot of people. Because let's be honest, which parents are going to allow their children to go away to hostels or to sports hostels at a young age? Nobody does that. And very few people do that. To tap into the real talent, you need to take infrastructure to those places. And I think the more and more India has done that, the more and more BCCI and associations like KSCA have done that, is you're seeing more and more talent coming from smaller towns and cities. So, yeah, I think that's been phenomenal. That's been a big game changer, I think, for Indian cricket over the last, I'd say, decade or decade and a half.
Well, another, sort of mindset change which we need to many times go through, and it happens to us, is that nowadays, slowly the names in the newspapers keep changing, right? Now, we don't hear about Rahul Dravid scoring a century, but we hear about his son scoring runs. So Rahul has moved from being an individual player to a coach. How do you see the change? How important is coaching, and how different would it be from mentoring? And I heard from Sri that mentoring is a subject very close to your heart. So what do you feel is the role you can
So yeah, I think coaching and guidance at a young age is really important, more from a perspective of creating the right environment and a safe environment for young boys and girls to be able to play the game. I think that's what, coaching the technique or coaching the skill, that's also been the other big change today. I think in the old days we used to say knowledge is power. I don't think that's very true anymore, because knowledge is available to everyone. I think the internet has changed that. So in my time, if you needed to know the technique of batting or the skill of batting, there was a few coaches in Bangalore who could really guide you correctly. Today you just have to click a few buttons on YouTube or on the internet, and you'll have some of the best players in the world giving you tips on coaching. So teaching the basics or the knowledge today is available. In fact, there's too much of knowledge. Sometimes you have to be careful about what you're actually, how do you sift through all of that knowledge that you've got. But so the knowledge is there. It's really what you do with that knowledge now is becoming the big game changer. And that's where I think good coaches or guiders or mentors can help you. To be able to help you, not so much in the technical side of things, but helping you and guiding you on what is the right sort of career path, what is the best way to go about things, how to deal with certain situations, so I think a lot of the time that the NCA, our role is not so much about teaching people the right technique as much as working on the mental side of the game with them. And I think that's becoming the huge challenge today, with so much of competition, so much of stress, so much of competing sort of, for children today, there are so many things that, there are distractions, right? There are competing distractions. How do you keep their minds focused on what they need to do? I think those are the big challenges, and those are the things that, a lot of our work needs to be devoted towards.
And just to add to that, I think the brilliant change which Rahul has got to the NCA is this kind of mentoring, because that's what we hear. It's amazing stuff which is happening there, which we don't get to see or read anywhere, but that's a wonderful job that he and his team are doing. In fact, I remember many years back, I was sitting with Srinath and he was talking to a coach, and somewhere in the middle he said, you need to teach them batting, but don't teach your batting, teach Rahul Dravid's batting. You are the media to do that. So don't teach what you want to, but teach what the legends do. So it's a very interesting thing. So how, just to come to a little bit of, how do you think they should benchmark their success, the youngsters that you're teaching? Because not all can play IPL game, not all would be under 19. How should they handle that part? What would you suggest them to be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're only looking at success in terms of the number of test matches you play or whether I get selected for India or whether I have a huge IPL contract, then it's a really tough game to play because there's such a very small percentage of people who can achieve that. But I think if you see sport and if you see cricket as a vehicle for many other things, whether it is just leading a healthy lifestyle, whether it's a means of meeting new people, of interacting with different kinds of people, of learning how to deal with success and failure, learning how to be disciplined about a target and trying to achieve it, learning about effort, hard work. If you see sport as that, and I don't mean only cricket, I think any sport, if you see sport as that, then at least you're taking something away from it. I think if you just see sport as did I win a gold medal or did I, then I think it's I think it's very hard. I think you've got to be, of course you've got to aspire to those things and you've got to want to achieve them, but you've also got to realize that that can't be the only thing that gives you happiness. There's a really nice quote, I think, there's a really nice quote, which I keep hearing every time there's an Olympic game, say that is that if you're not happy without a medal, you'll never be happy with one, right? So I think you've got to figure out, you've got to learn how to be a person, I think, without the medal, and if you just think that only the medal is going to give you happiness, it's probably not going to happen that way.
Thanks. Well, let's get to a little bit of a fun part. I have a few questions which is something like similar to a rapid fire, but I don't want you to think about it and just give an extra answer. Which one was better? 270 at Rawalpindi or 233 at Adelaide?
233 at Adelaide.
Not Pakistan?
I mean, the both are nice. It's a hard one. You said don't think about it, so I just didn't think.
Okay. Steve Waugh or Brian Lara? Who's the better one?
Better batsman.
Better captain.
Better captain. I'd say Steve Waugh.
Steve Waugh, I think they have a reciprocal arrangement. If you ask Steve Waugh who's the one cricketer you'd really hold in awe, I think he would say Rahul Dravid, but we've done before, right? Better batsman, VVS or Viru?
Jeez, man.
This is getting recorded, so
it's
I
not
think,
fair. God. Can I say Viru against pace and VVS against spin? Keep both of them happy.
Which one do you hate? The run out in the school finals in 2000, or the VB series 2004?
Run out in the school final, yeah. Watching, and the most embarrassing moment I think in my life, really, crying all the way back after I got run out in the school final. So you can imagine the whole school is watching also. Next day, for the next whole week, people reminded me about it. And people are passing me on the corridors and saying, "Cry baby."
Little did they know whom they are criticizing that time, right? And just for people to know, in 2004 he got out for a duck. And that was after a record 120 innings. Rahul holds the world record for that. No one's been close to that. 120 innings, scoring in every game till he got out. So I thought he might become that. Who's got more patience, Dhoni or Sachin?
Dhoni, I'd say.
Sachin's not a patient guy.
No, he's not patient. I mean, again, you're asking me to pick between 6 and a half a dozen, right? What do we do? And I can't think, so.
Who's got a better sense of dressing, Venki or Srinath?
Venki, man. Srinath's chappals don't win it.
I happen to know the other guy who's very particular that his suits are stitched well. Srinath insists on R.M. Williams shoes, but somehow Rahul doesn't. And once I remember in KSC, we walked into his room and there was a note on his table that however good you do, you'll never be as well dressed as Venki. And that was from Jayanti. Venki's wife. Well, I thought so much. Who's better at sledging, Bhaji or UV?
I'd say Bhaji was more wittier, more funnier.
Okay.
Yeah. Harbhajan was more funnier. Very funny guy.
Yeah, I mean, standing in the slips, you would know who's bugging the batsman well, right? So,
no, he was very good, and especially against the Pakistanis, because a lot of the Punjabi boys, right?
Correct.
Because they speak a very similar language,
Right.
So they're able to really pull each other's legs very well.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see how much he knows about himself, right? Any idea how many fours you've hit in Test cricket?
I have no clue.
Well, 1,654 fours in Test cricket. I think that's just awesome, right? It's amazing. But at least the number of deliveries you faced in Test.
I'm not very
No.
good at stats, Ajit.
I think he doesn't know Rahul Dravid well, so let's give it to him. 31,258 deliveries faced by this man on the crease. You can just imagine what frustration it must be for the bowlers to bowl to this man, right? It's terrible. ODI catches, you should know that, or no?
I know, I actually don't. I know some stats, Ajit. I wouldn't even know the total number of runs and stuff. I know I played 164 test matches. That was important to me. Playing one was important, so I played 164, so that like meant a lot. I've taken 209 or 10 catches, you know, for that kind of. I think
ODI
test-
was 196.
Test, yeah, okay, so test catches, so I kind of know that, but I don't know too many other stats.
And one thing which I would have totally missed is how many balls has Rahul Dravid bowled? I never knew he's a spin bowler. Did you?
I know I've taken 4 or 5 wickets, and that I think 5 one-day wickets or something. I've taken 1 test wicket. That is easy to remember.
Right.
Taken only 1, so it's easy.
Okay. 186 deliveries. So I think, batsman we all know. Keeping I've seen personally. I didn't know about the bowling. So ladies and gentlemen, that's Padma Bhushan, Rahul Sharad Dravid. It's an honor, Rahul, having you here. Wonderful. If in case I think anyone wants to ask a question or two, we'll take that and then we'll break. But after that, we'll have a quick Thanksgiving.